All right, welcome. We'll wait till we have a few folks on here to get started. Thanks to Blip Shift for the Porsche 944 shirt.
Now the young it's a clown in the old man's game. The man child, he don't know what he's doing. He don't know the world has changed. Now it seems to be so far. The man on the street ain't got a clue. The high top cat
Specifically.
running your life. Thinks the problem is me and you. Born in a time that has gone. The old to the young. Have you heard the news? Yes, young man. The problem is a man child to you. The problem is a man child to you. It seems to be so far. The man on the street ain't got a clue. The high talking.
All right, welcome, folks. There.
Thinks the problem.
All right, guys, I'm gonna stop the music and we're gonna get this thing on the road. It's gonna be pretty quick this week. I just wanted to talk a little bit about who we are. All right, everybody, welcome. Hey guys, so I hope this is a good time for everybody. Again, feedback on the timing is great. Also, if you want to submit a topic for discussion in the future, let us know. We'll definitely would like to accommodate any topic requests that anyone has, so that we're really tailoring this specifically for what you want. But I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the background of the company, the product, maybe a little bit of me because it intertwines a lot, and then also answer some questions. And this was kind of inspired by, and a lot of this has been by Eric Meyer, and also because he mentioned it, I found myself explaining this to more and more people. But we actually build the Apex Pro device, the product, here in Birmingham, Alabama. And so this whole kind of brief video is going to be talking a little bit about that. In the future, hopefully we'll show and showcase a little bit more about what other projects are ongoing here in our building where we build the device, what our office looks like, stuff like that. But we actually hand make the product here. We do the vast majority of the assembly and the building of the product in-house, so it's made in America. And we have a lot of control over the manufacturing process, and we're always trying to increase how we do manufacturing and making it both scalable but also kind of tailorable, personable, and efficient, obviously. So again, we're in Birmingham, Alabama. It's a great city. It's a growing city. There's a lot of tech energy and excitement here right now, and kind of startup energy and excitement. So that's really cool. We have an in-house technical team. So the way our business works is I kind of lead our outbound part of the customer-facing part of the business. So any marketing, sales efforts like that are my responsibility. I now have a director of sales and operations. That's Mr. Baker Heppenstall, who's behind the scenes at every event that we do, make sure that everything runs seamlessly. Couldn't do it without him. It's pretty amazing to believe that I actually did do this without him. So I'm happy to have him. That's what I was thankful for Thanksgiving. He thought that was fun. That's why I'm here. I make him laugh. That's why I work together. Oh, man. But we have an in-house technical team. So my business partner is Austin, and you've probably seen him featured in some of our YouTube content if you've watched any of our videos. He heads up the technical department. So he designed both the mechanical design of the product and also the software and the machine learning components of how the product actually works. And really excited to put out some content first to our dealers and then for public release that explains a little bit more of the logic of how the machine learning works. And so that's something that we've been working on a lot, as well as preparing for PRI. So along with talking about who we are, we've got a couple of announcements this week. I didn't do a good job of promoting that, but one, we're going to be at PRI. That's actually next week, next Thursday through Saturday. We're going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana, hanging out at the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show. It's going to be awesome. I actually don't know our booth number, but we'll be with HMS Motorsports. So if you're in the area, certainly check us out. We're going to be doing a seminar with Eric Meyer in the NASA Great Lakes region on Saturday. So we're looking forward to interacting with people that use the product and informing you about what our plans are going forward. So a little bit about me and then the background of our company and how this whole kind of train started rolling. So I've been involved in motorsports pretty much my entire adult life. Since I've known I wanted to be involved in motorsports since I was really young, like most of us. I have the same story that almost anyone that's listening that's full-time in the racing industry, you probably have a very similar story. My dad took me to the racetrack. He was a car guy, always had like a 911 or a sports car. And so that was how I kind of got hooked. Was I literally just did not want to get away from the smell of race gas and race brakes and tires, right? That was all it was. I actually remember at a young age wondering where the haulers went when they left the racetrack. And so that took me down the very financially solid path of race team ownership. Worked out really well. It was tons of fun. I met a lot of cool people. I never knew that while I was still in college, I would be learning how to fund and learning how to run a professional racing effort. So I raced in Pirelli World Challenge. It's kind of a weird way of getting there, but I started racing club racing with SCCA locally and won a SARRC, the South Atlantic Road Racing Championship, the regional championship in a stock car class. So I raced a purpose-built late model road course stock car. It's a Ford Taurus, 2004 Ford Taurus, beautiful car. And that kind of, I guess, really got me excited about the whole process of prepping the car, having the team have to work together. There were so many variables, and that was how I went down the path of getting into professional racing. And somewhere along that path, I met my business partner, Austin Gurley, through Auburn University, which is where I went to college. So there's two really critical things, and that's obviously race team I was doing over here, and then I was also at Auburn University, where we were doing the Formula SAE team. So I was either at school skipping class building a race car, or I was on the weekends at the racetrack, doing my club racing effort. And then we built Reigns Racing and went World Challenge Racing. And at the same time, right after we started fielding the World Challenge cars, Austin brought the first prototype of Apex Pro to test in the car. So his whole concept was looking at the Formula SAE side of things. He was going, we have this crazy Motec ECU, all this awesome equipment. We have damper pots, we have four-way adjustable dampers, right? But the real, 90% of the equation, especially for what we were doing, was the driver. And so he simply got frustrated with drivers not realizing that all they had to do was push the pedals harder, right? Or get their vision further ahead, or adjust themselves instead of adjusting the car. Because a team full of engineers tends to want to adjust the car first, right? Because that's what we enjoyed as a team. And Austin took the approach of why don't we adjust the driver, and that was what kind of spawned Apex Pro. So there are things out there like GSUM and lap simulators and all sorts of complex modeling tools. and he wanted something that was a little more binary, on or off, yes or no, a little bit simpler, and that was where the display came from. But really what enabled the product to even be built was the commercialization and the lowering costs of things like commercially available GPSs, accelerometers, microprocessors, BLE chips, and stuff like that. The stuff that we use on our circuit board 20 years ago would have been too expensive to deliver a product in this category, in this price range. And so all of those things kind of converged to produce Apex. And so we kind of went through just a really simple product development process. He would bring one to the track, put it in whatever car I was driving at the time. I would say yay or nay, right? I don't know what this thing is. I don't know what it's doing. We can't mount it here, all this stuff. And we went from something was fairly bulky and mounted in the center of the car that had a remote mounted display to the compact unit that you see there. And Austin had to figure out the technical challenges with that. And there's an immense number of them in order to mount the device. Basically, it needs to know the center of gravity, or it needs to understand if it's in front or behind of the center of gravity of the vehicle to compute the grip modeling that it does. And so obviously it's almost always ahead of the center of gravity if it's mounted on the dash. So it's very important, and something we probably don't emphasize enough. It's very important to mount your Apex device on the dash with a clear view out the windshield for the GPS. Those are just things that we learned going forward, and obviously having the backplate facing the direction of travel, that helps the GPS a lot. But I'm diverging a little bit. It all came around the idea of making it a little more simpler, and also how can we bring the data review process, how can we simplify it and make it something that even if we only get one little, thank you Marlon, I appreciate it, one nugget of information while we're in the car to learn something about our driving, that's very valuable, right? If you can confirm or deny a driver's suspicion, hey, I think it's pushing, or I think I can brake later. If you can confirm or deny that in the car and impress upon the driver enough to remember it, it shortens that process, right? And so that's all that the real-time aspect of the data was centered around. And that was how we built and developed the product. So I went from kind of fumbling around in World Challenge TC and working with a good friend of mine, Mikey Taylor, who raced. We had two Volkswagens that we bought from APR Motorsport. I actually worked for them as a pit crew member. They had done some 3D printing stuff for us on the Formula C team. They were a sponsor of ours at Auburn. So it's like all these different relationships. I built a relationship with them, started working on the pit crew, got to know Mikey, who was driving their cars at the time. Mikey and I ended up working together. We bought their old race cars. My dad and I had started our race teams, already had a trailer and a truck, and we kind of went from there. We took the APR stuff, we built them into the new spec of Pirelli World Challenge touring car that came about in 2015. And we had a couple of Volkswagens that would fly apart as we went down the track, but they were really fast in a straight line. Mine had 4 bone shocks that they were air shocks, nitrogen shocks, and they would go from 150 or 160 PSI to 40 over the course of the race. So the car would start out handling really well, and then all of a sudden it would start porpoising and understeering. So I went through that experience, and then we slimmed the team down to a single car, and I built a Honda Accord with Honda manufactured in Alabama, and that follows, and I give you all this background information because the Apex Pro development followed a very similar path. So about the time I started building the Accord, we took the next step into the product shape that we know today, which has the case that looks like this, right? So that's about the time that the product started to take this shape, but it still was kind of fundamentally missing a lot of what it has now and the value that it offers. And that was about the time we decided we had to build an app to control it. That was not the easiest decision to make, but it took a while. We learned how to build iOS code or Apple code ourselves, which is another big part of what enabled the development of the product. So I share all this with you so that you kind of understand how things evolved over time. The first time we publicly presented the technology and the product and the idea in a more commercial form was at PRI in 2016, right before the 2017 season. So that was the first time that the product was really out there. And that was after I ran half a season in World Challenge and did tons and tons of testing with my Accord, and also my good friend Robbie Foley, who you might recognize his name, great guy. Now an IMSA GT racer, pretty impressive. He was an MX5 Cup at the time, but he was kind of the professional butt dyno that would confirm or deny my suspicions. Good to hear it, Kobe. I appreciate it. That's awesome. Just reading the comments. And so Robbie would kind of provide this professional butt dyno. Hey, I felt like this was accurate, right? We'd go back and critique his video and go through exactly what he was feeling. And, the car was going over bumps, or he was unsettled, or, whatever he was feeling, did that correlate appropriately with the lights? So we spent a lot of time doing that. And that kind of turned into things getting more complex on the app end. Originally, we started out providing only an Android platform from day one because we had a partner that was doing that. Had a reshuffling in the business. Like I said, we coded our own iOS app, and we've been on that path ever since. And we do that really, really well. And we're working on a solution for that. And we'll actually have an announcement probably before PRI about what our plans are going forward, which platforms we're going to focus on. We want to disclose as much information as possible to allow you to get the most from the product. But so all of that has kind of created this learning process for us. And so what we found that we have to do in order to be successful is we have to take input and not be afraid of getting feedback and kind of aggregate that information to create the best product for our customers. So when people ask who we are and what we do, I say we're a company that's trying to help people have a light bulb moment behind the wheel, right? I had spent a lot of time coaching, so I didn't really provide that background, which is actually more relevant about the time I was doing World Challenge. I moved back from Auburn University to Birmingham, Alabama, and I got hired at the Porsche Sport Driving School at the time. Now it's called the Porsche Track Experience. And also we do a Mercedes-Benz program as well in parallel. But that was what really got me excited about coaching, was working there and seeing how some of our customers would look at the coaches that had been there for a while, and they would just have this admiration for them helping them. And I thought back on the people that I had coached me. So throughout my driving experience, I kind of took for granted that I went from a somewhat competitive club level championship. There were 2 or 3 other really quick drivers when I raced in club racing, and we would have a 7 or 8 car field. It wasn't crazy. To a very, very, very competitive running the inch off someone's bumper series and World Challenge. I did that in a 2.5 year time frame, right? So I kind of took that for granted, and I didn't really break down what enabled me to do that, what enabled me to have the skill set to do that. And now that I have been able to digest that and understand it, it was because I surrounded myself with people all the time, not just at the track, but Mikey Taylor was my roommate for a little while. He's back in IMSA now. He's racing in TCR, raced in TCR this year. And then Robbie Foley, I spent a lot of time with him. And then I was also coached by John Lewis, who was kind of my senior at the Porsche Track Experience program. And he was kind of the first person that I rode dirt bikes with him when I was younger. The bank my dad worked for sponsored him at a time. And so when I think back about the things that enabled me to make that quick transition into a professional level, it was being around people like that, and not just being around them, like I said, at the track and being coached by them, but also hearing the way they talk about driving. Just surrounding yourself with, if you want to do something, you have to create an environment around yourself that supports that and that cultivates that. And I was hearing these things. I was understanding understeer and oversteer before I really even knew what that was, right? When I was around John Lewis when I was 13 or 14 or whatever. I didn't get started driving until I was about 17. So those types of things, I think, are what really fundamentally created, was what enabled me to quickly get to that level, right? And so that's, I kind of think of Apex being the same way, right? It's not about practice makes perfect. It's perfect practice makes perfect. And so I think I had an emphasis on perfect practice when I was younger. And I'm not saying I'm a driving god, right? I'm quick. I'll go reasonably quick in anything you put me in, and I love it, right? I'm not going to be, the next Fernando Alonso, right? But it's more important for me to share my experience and what skill I do have, and also be honest about what skills I'm trying to gain. So something that I really need to work on is, and this is actually just like the constant thing that probably most of us need to work on, but it's that halfway through the braking zone to the apex, or even just the start of the braking zone to the apex, what are we doing with our foot on the brake pedal? And how can we focus on the end of brake point and where we need to get off the brakes to settle the car at the apex? And that's something that Apex Pros helped me with, is that rolling corner speed. The confidence, it's almost the intangible confidence thing. I hit the brake pedal, I saw a flash of red lights, and that means I know there's more grip. And now I know that, and I'm equipped with that power, that knowledge, that next lap I can either go deeper on the brakes, or I can make my, maximum brake input a little bit less, right? And try to roll that speed into the corner. So those are, I know that's a lot of information, but that's kind of fundamentally what got us excited about it. And now that we've been in the business of motorsports data and we're starting to learn about what people want, we just want to be that company that listens to what our customers are telling us, and create a product that allows you to have a light bulb moment. I mean, it's as simple as that. If there's one thing that Apex Pro can do, if it can tell you that, if it can help you understand that you're not maximizing entry speed into a certain corner and it's correlated with, the fact that you're braking too early or that you're braking too hard, that's really powerful, because usually it takes hiring a coach to either sit with you in the car or do really extensive data review with you to do that. And so it shouldn't, it's an expensive hobby, it's an under $500 product that can last you a very, very long time and help you make the driver mod. We want to be one of the more inexpensive parts of it and one of the more higher value parts of the experience. So we'll kind of dovetail that all with, we do a lot of cool things in this building where we have Apex Pro, and we make everything here. So we're an original equipment manufacturer. We build the product in Birmingham, Alabama. Everything shipped from here. All of our dealer orders, our whole operation is here, and we plan on being here. Barber Motorsports Park was kind of the impetus for me even being able to get into motorsports, right? Because it literally was 3 miles from where I grew up, 3 miles from my parents' house. So that was what enabled me to surround myself with people like the instructors at the program there. That's why I went to Auburn to do the Formula SAE team. That environment is what created my ability to be in motorsports, and I think it's did the same for Apex Pro. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to us about anything if you want to know more about us, or if you have thoughts, ideas. We want to hear from you. That's a big part of it. So the things that I want to end with are a couple of announcements. We're going to wrap this one up. It's going to be nice and short, and we'll get back to some more technical related driving discussion in the future. But we're going to be on Grassroots Motorsports Live on Wednesday. So if you don't already follow Grassroots Motorsports, obviously they're awesome. JG is going to welcome us into their studio on Wednesday. I'm going to fly down to Daytona, and we're going to do some Apex Pro promotion and hopefully get the brand in front of a lot more people and expose what it can do to help them drive. We're very focused on promoting value first, right? Value is ultimately what you have to be focused on to create a brand and build a long-term goal and vision. And that's what we want to stay focused on, which is how can we help you find time on the track? How can we help you have a light bulb moment? How can we help you be more consistent? Whatever you're looking for with your driving related, the driver mod, what part of that can we fulfill? So that's what we're doing. And then we're also going to be at PRI next week. So 2 announcements: Grassroots Motorsports Live on Wednesday. Join us about the same time we're doing this, maybe a little later in the evening. But eat some dinner, sit down, come watch us, see what's going on. And then we're also going to be at PRI next week. So if you're in Indianapolis and Indiana, Thursday through Saturday, we will be there. And then I'll also be back at Barber Motorsports Park. It's going to be a quick trip back at Barber Motorsports Park on Sunday, next Sunday, not this Sunday, for the Champ Car Endurance Series race. Hopefully be doing a stint behind the wheel. Should be tons of fun. Last year it snowed. Crazy cool in-car videos. Grass is covered in snow. So I'm fired up about that. We're going to post this video on our YouTube page. So if you don't already subscribe to our YouTube page, give it a follow. If you want to ever catch up on any of this content, any of the Motorsports Monday stuff, definitely go give it a watch there. If you missed the first part of this video, you want to learn more about who we are, the details of what's going on, you can do that. We're going to be doing more about this to just show you guys what our operation's like, who we are, what we're doing here, what motivates us. At the end of the day, Apex is a visualization of the friction circle, right? Of that whole string theory concept, right? And I think that has a lot of validity and timelessness in teaching people how to drive, better, how to use more grip, and how to get better behind the wheel. So we're gonna let that wrap us up. I really appreciate everyone chiming in. There's getting so much stuff here. There we go. Just catching up with the comments. John Lewis is terrific. Yeah, everybody give John Kennelly a shout. I believe John Kennelly with Radiant Racing Tech is offering a deal for if you purchase a unit from him during the holiday season. He's going to help you out with some data review. Look, my fiance just joined. You see that? I got engaged. Whoa. I'm just kidding. And also, I have my car on my shirt. See, Baker, the reason I hired Baker is because he laughs at my jokes. That's really what it is.
And I'll do everything else you don't do.
And he does everything that I don't want to do. It's brilliant. All right, folks, thanks for joining us. Always great to chat with everybody. Al Demisco, you're right. Robbie is awesome. Robbie Foley, give him a shout. So I really appreciate everybody making this what it is. Feel free to ask us questions. Keep commenting on this video. We're going to post it on YouTube, and we will see you at the track in the near future.